Hello friends, how's it going? My name is Gabby. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be discussing my 2024 goals, and this is a video that makes me really excited to do every year because I get to talk about the 8 different goals that I have for myself for the year of 2024. I'm also going to be letting you know about a few readathon plans as well as some video plans that I have for the year, and we're going to be doing a rapid fire TBR for the year. These are some books that I've had on my backlist for a while that I really am hoping to get to in the year of 2024, so I'm going to be letting you know about those. I'm also going to be doing an extended version of this video for my Patreon where I'm going to be touching on the 10 different personal goals that I have for myself for the year, as well as letting them know about some other video plans that I'm not ready to share with the world yet, just in case they don't happen, but I want to give my Patreon the exclusive of like what I might be working on, you know? Have the link down below for the extended version of this video on my Patreon if you're curious to go and check it out. But anyways, without any further ado, let's jump into it. So my first goal for the year of 2024 is going to be to read 200 books for the year. This is a goal that I'm setting at 200 because for the last 2 years, I've been able to read pretty well over 200 books, so I'm not too worried about reaching this goal. And my second goal is to read 50 manga, and I'm perfectly fine if those 50 manga are included in the total of 200 books. Like, I just want to read 200 books with manga being included in that for the whole year, but I specifically want to take the time to read 50 manga this year because manga is something I very recently discovered that I love. You know, like, I really have only gotten into manga in the year of 2022, so I feel like there's so much for me to catch up on. To help me reach this goal, I'm actually going to be doing a video very soon next month where I'm going to attempt to read 24 manga within 24 hours. It's going to be a video that's very inspired by my friend Gavin. He did this video recently, and so hoping that doing that video will help me reach that goal of 50 pretty easily if I'm going to be reading 24 of them all within a 24-hour period. My third goal is going to be to read more nonfiction this year. I just noticed a severe lack of nonfiction last year. Like, I think I only read 4 nonfiction books in the entirety of 2023, and like, not that that's such a bad thing. I just feel like I used to make more of an effort to read nonfiction, and I feel like I just don't do that anymore, so I would really like to read more nonfiction books this year. Some of the ones I have that I would definitely like to get to include Catch and Kill. This one has been sitting on my shelf for a few years now. I just really need to get around to this. And I also recently just hauled Untamed and You Can Make This Place Beautiful, and both of these sound amazing. I've also been noticing that there are some really interesting sounding nonfiction books coming out this year that I'm intrigued by, so I just think I need to make more of an effort to read nonfiction this year. And I also think it would be good to make an effort to listen to nonfiction on audio when I'm at the gym, because recently I've discovered a love of like going to the gym and just kind of like walking on the treadmill, and it's just kind of like mindless and I get to shut my brain off, but I love listening to audiobooks, I've discovered, while I'm at the gym just walking on the treadmill. So I thought maybe I could prioritize trying to read nonfiction books when I'm at the gym, and that can be like my audiobook that I only listen to while I'm at the gym. And I feel like that would help motivate me to go to the gym even more, because then I'm like, I can't listen to it unless I'm at the gym. And then my fourth goal is going to be to still utilize audiobooks as much as I can, you know, because I have truly become an audiobook girly in the last like 2 years or so, to the point where I'm listening to more audiobooks than I am reading books physically. But for the year of 2024, I want to rely on them a little bit less than I have in past years, just because I do love the physical reading experience so much, so I want to try and rely on the audiobooks less. I guess what I just mean by this is that if I don't have access to the audiobook, I'm not gonna like scramble and try to just purchase the audiobook when I have the physical copy. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm still gonna be listening to audiobooks like nobody's business, but it's almost like within the last 2 years, I've developed this like thing in my brain where I'm like, oh, I can't read that book right now because I'm still waiting on the audiobook, and I don't want to have to rely on the audiobook in that way. Like, if the audiobook doesn't get to me in time for my library or something, then like I can start the book physically and read it with my eyeballs, you know? My next goal is gonna be to read outside of my comfort zone more often. I do typically read romance, thriller, and horror books. Like, those are my comfort zones. I do read some literary fiction every now and then, but for the most part, I'm not reading a lot of sci-fi these days. And sci-fi is a genre that's like very hit or miss for me. Same with like historical fiction's very hit or miss for me. And then fantasy is a genre that I barely ever touch. Like, I usually don't like any fantasy, so I tend to stay away from it. But this year, I really want to try and get out of my comfort zone and read things that I'm not sure if I would like and just give it a chance. I mean, at the same time, I'm not going to be afraid to DNF things that I'm not liking this year. Like, that's definitely not going to be a thing, because like, if I'm not liking it, then I'm not going to feel pressured to finish reading it just for the sake of finishing reading it. But I also don't want to just dismiss a book because it's in a genre that I don't typically read. And then my next goal, I don't even know if this is a goal or not, but it's just something I thought I would mention here, is that I'm not sure if I'm going to keep making TBR videos for like every single month, because in the past, I've always had a reason to make a TBR video like every single month with like the pulling out the promise of the jar and like different things like that. This year, I guess I don't really have anything monthly that would make it necessary for me to make a TBR video for every single month. Instead, what I might do is like seasonal TBR videos, or I might do TBR videos for 2 months within one video. I mean, the main reason why I feel like I need to continue with the TBR videos is because that's usually how I announce like the next book troop picks. So I'm trying to think of other ways that I could do that if I wasn't doing the TBR videos all the time. But I don't know, you'll have to let me know what you think of the TBR videos. Like, are those something that you would really miss from me every single month? Or are those kind of videos that you don't care too much about anyways? Like, just let me know what you think, because I do enjoy doing them and I like letting you know what I'm going to be up to that month, but I also don't see a complete reason for them if I'm not doing something every month where I'm like pulling out prompts out of a jar or doing something that's more engaging. So I'm not really sure. Let me know your thoughts there. And then my next goal is going to be successfully hosting my first Trova trip in the month of October. If you haven't heard, I'm actually going to be hosting my very first Trova trip to Italy in October this year, and I could not be more excited about this. I'll have all the information linked down below if you want to travel with us. Hosting my first Trova trip has been a dream of mine ever since I went on Gavin's Trova trip in September. We went to Japan, and I just had the absolute time of my life in Japan. It was my first time ever traveling internationally. It was my first time traveling by myself. I really just overcame a lot of anxiety by going on that trip, and it was literally the best experience of my life. Like, I think about it every single day. I miss Japan and the people on that trip so desperately. And so the fact that now I'm going to be getting to host my own Trova trip and we're going to be going to Italy in October, it just sounds like such a dream come true. And if you're thinking about joining us, I will have the link down below so you can take a look at the itinerary. You can see all what's included in the price. I mean, gosh, almost everything that we need on this trip is included in the price. Like, the hotel is completely covered. Most of the food is covered. We're going to have a local guide with us on the trip the entire time. I feel like Trova trip does a really great job of just taking care of you. Like, you feel like everything's taken care of when you're there, and it's completely stress-free. Like, what a wonderful way to travel, especially like getting to meet new bookish friends as well, and getting that safety net of traveling with a group when sometimes I can feel kind of nervous going to new places by myself. But that's why I love Trova trip, because you can gather with a bunch of other like-minded people who also read books and get to hang out for a week and explore a new place and somewhere as beautiful as Italy. Like, what a freaking dream. So I really hope you can join us. All of the info will be linked down below, and who knows, you know, if this trip goes successfully, I would love to be able to host more Trova trips in the future. And then my last goal is going to be to try and make an effort to go and read outdoors more, especially since I'm somebody who, you know, works from home. I spend a lot of time indoors, and if this winter has taught me anything, it's that I can go a little stir crazy when I'm indoors for too long. I mean, last summer and last fall, I absolutely loved getting out of the apartment and just driving to a park or just driving out somewhere and reading outside during the day. It's like the best thing ever, and I just want to make more of an actual effort to like do that, you know, just to go out to read somewhere by the water. I feel like Washington is a really beautiful state, and I need to take more advantage of the outdoors here. All right, and then moving on from the goals to the readathon plans that I have for this year. We just had Winterween in the month of January. If you missed it, it was a really fun time, and I'm glad that I finally got to bring Winterween back this year. And if you are wondering, I'm definitely planning to host Summerween in July as usual this year. It's so crazy because this July is actually going to be our 5-year anniversary for Summerween. Like, this will be the 5th time that I'm going to be hosting Summerween, which is so crazy. And so I'm really hoping to go all out for this Summerween because it's the 5th year anniversary of hosting it. Like, how crazy. And so you can definitely look forward to all of the Summerween typical shenanigans from me this summer. I can't wait. And then as far as other readathon plans for the year, I am planning on hosting Screaming Color on my Patreon. This is like a 48-hour Patreon exclusive readathon that I've been hosting. I host it 3 times a year, and it basically just happens on a Saturday and Sunday. And so I'm planning on hosting these readathons probably in March, and then June, and then September, I think, are the months that I'm going to be hosting these this year. And the whole point of the Screaming Color readathon is like, it's a really laid back kind of readathon where on a Saturday and a Sunday, we all read books with the same color on the cover. And so for each round of the readathon, we read books with a different color on the cover, and it's just so much fun. Also, during these readathons on my Patreon, I host 10-hour-long reading sprints on the first day, and we also do trivia like related to books and movie posters and Taylor Swift lyrics. It is such a fun time. Like, it is one of my favorite things that I'm a part of on the internet. Like, I love hosting these Screaming Color readathons, so I hope you'll be able to join us for the first one in March. This readathon is available to every single tier on my Patreon, and I can't wait. I think it's gonna be such a blast. All right, and then moving on to some video plans that I have for the year that I would like to share with you. One of the first video plans is an idea that I have that I would like some feedback on, if you can give me some feedback, because I had the idea this year that I would love to make a video where I read every single Reese Witherspoon book club pick from this entire year. But what I was thinking about doing is I would make 3 separate videos that would contain 4 months worth of books. So like in my mind, basically I would include the January through April picks, and then I would post the video in April of like reading the first 4 Reese Witherspoon book club picks for the year. And then I would do April through August, and then in August I would post another video reading those other 4 picks, and then in December I would post the last, like August through December, reading the last 4 picks of the year. And I guess I was just wondering if that's something you would prefer from me, like if I were to do it like that, like posting 3 separate videos of like reading the Reese Witherspoon book club picks throughout the year. Or I guess I was wondering if you would prefer that I include it all in one video. So like say maybe I can read the Reese Witherspoon book club picks within the months throughout the whole year, and then save it for one huge vlog that I post in December where I read all 12 of them, and then you just wouldn't hear my thoughts about any of these books until December potentially, and I just wouldn't include the books in my wrap-ups or anything like that, and I would just save it as like a huge video project for the month of December. Or if you'd rather that I make this more of like a video series kind of thing and I release 3 videos throughout the year, I would just love to know your thoughts on this, because I've been thinking about doing this for a while, because Reese Witherspoon's book club is always so much fun. I've never really like fully participated in it, but I always notice the books that she's picking for her book club are books that I'm intrigued by or interested in. I mean, gosh, the fact that the January pick for Reese Witherspoon's book club pick is a thriller, First Lie Wins, and this is a book that I'm super intrigued by, and the fact that it was a book of the month selection recently, like things are going very well so far. And then one of the second video plans that I had is I want to do a second round of paying TBR to pick books for my TBR, because if you missed it a few years ago now, I did this video where I paid this service that's called TBR. You pay this service like, I think it's like $15, and you get to type in a bunch of information about like what your taste is in books, and then they end up picking 3 books for you to read based off of your feedback. It was a really fun video that I did a few years ago now, but it was also kind of an epic fail, I feel like, because I didn't end up enjoying a lot of those books. But I thought it would be fun to try and do a second round of this, and I could get even more specific with my taste now that I know my own taste better. And so I think I'm gonna plan to do that at some point this year. I'm also definitely planning to do more rounds of those videos of like, this vlog doesn't end until I find a 5-star, or like a random number generator chooses how many hours I read, or another Instagram controls my life, because I had a lot of fun working on those vlogs last year, and I like that they give me a little bit of creative freedom with what I'm actually choosing to read. Like it allows me to mood read a little bit more instead of having like a set TBR for myself, so those videos are a really fun time for me. This year I would love to try a video that's like a books control my day type of video, because I've seen a few other creators do videos like this and I think it looks really fun. Books determine like what I wear that day, or what I read that day, or what I watch that day, or what I eat. I just think it would be a really fun time, and I've seen a lot of really fun videos done in this way, so I think that would be something fun to do this year. Of course, I would also love to do more book shopping with me kind of vlogs. I have been doing book shopping with me vlogs, especially with my mom recently, where we go to like different areas of Washington, because there's so many beautiful areas in Washington that I haven't been to that have amazing bookstores. And so I would love to continue that tradition this year, especially this summer, like, you know, once it gets a little warmer outside. And now that I have my passport, I would love to go up to Canada, because I live really close to Canada. I live like less than 10 minutes from Canada, and I've still never been. So I would love to do a book shopping in Vancouver, or like book shopping in Canada. The options are truly endless for me when it comes to that. And then the last video plan that I have is the Backlist Bonanza vlogs. And if you're like, what the heck does that mean? These are reading vlogs where I'm gonna be prioritizing some more backlist books. In my brain, I know this might not be the actual definition of a backlist book, but in my brain, anything like about a year or so old, I would consider to be backlist. Like anything that was published in 2023, like early 2023, now I consider that to be backlist. And so in the year of 2023, right at the end, I made the first episode of this series that I hope to be like the Backlist Bonanza, where I'm gonna be prioritizing some backlist books and then reading them all together for a vlog. And I think it's gonna be a fun time, especially because I have so many books on my shelf that I need to get to. And so with that being said, that leads me directly into my TBR for the year of 2024. These are some of the books that I'm probably gonna be reading for these Backlist Bonanza episodes, because these are books that I've really been needing to get to for a while. I swear to God, future Gabby, if you have not read these by 2025, you need to unhaul them. Like, they just need to go. The first one is gonna be Circe by Madeline Miller. I never know how to pronounce this, but this has been sitting on my shelf since 2018. Like, it's been 6 years. It's been 6 years. And this is one that I've been a little bit nervous to read because I know it involves like Greek mythology, which is not usually my thing, but I've also heard that the writing is very feminist and very beautiful, so I need to read it this year. I also really need to read Once There Were Wolves. This one has been sitting on my shelf since August 2021. This one is more of a literary fiction, I think. I also have A Little Hope by Ethan Joella. This is another one that's like a literary fiction book. It's been on my TBR since November 2021. And then I have Dark Places by Gillian Flynn. This is the only book by this author that I still have not read. Wow, it says this book first published in 2009. Like 2009, and I still haven't read it. I mean, to be fair, I just hauled this book last year. Like I just found a copy at my used bookstore, but still, I mean, this one has technically been on my TBR since I've read Gone Girl in 2014. All right, next up is gonna be The City We Became. This has been sitting on my shelf since the year of 2020. And I know that this is probably gonna be a little bit outside of my comfort zone, but the New York vibes on this cover are just screaming my name. I also have The Half Moon by Mary Beth Keane. This was actually one that I decided to DNF last year, but it's because I picked it up at a time when I just was not interested in reading it. But this one is also kind of more of a literary fiction vibe. You see, I just have to be in a very specific mood to pick up literary fiction because apparently I don't do it very often. I also have this thriller called Shiver. This one, honestly, like I really should have read this during Winter Wee, and I'm now realizing it was a missed opportunity because there's so much snow on the cover. But this one has a lot of tropes that I really tend to like. I mean, it says it started as a reunion, it ended with murder. It sounds like it'll be fun. I also have this thriller, The Lies I Tell by Julie Clark. This one's been sitting on my TBR since June 2022, so about a year and a half. I think I've been nervous to read this one because there was a book that this author previously wrote that I thought was just okay, but this one's been sitting on my TBR for literally forever. I also need to get around to Camp Zero. This one is a sci-fi kind of like dystopian book that I've had on my TBR for a long time. I would love to get to The Outsider by Stephen King this year. I'm actually hoping when I do eventually get around to reading this book that I'll do a dedicated reading vlog just dedicated to this book. I think that would be cool. I also have The Changeling by Victor LaValle. This is one of his backlist books that I've been really interested in. I've read 2 books by this author so far, and they've both been just okay for me, so I'm hoping to find a winner with this one. I also have Off the Deep End by Lucinda Berry. This is another thriller that I've been really interested in for a long time that I need to get to. And then I have The Other Side of Night. This is one that I've just heard such great things about, mostly from Kayla from Books and Lala. Like, she's got me so intrigued with this one. And this book came out in September 2022, and I have the ARC copy still. Like, I even got this early, and I still haven't read it. Like, I'm so ashamed. And then I have Exit West, which is another book that I actually recently just hauled this from the used bookstore, but this is one that I've been wanting to read ever since it first published. Yeah, and this one first came out in 2017, so like it's been on my radar for such a long time. I just need to get to it this year. And then lastly, I have Yoke, which is a book that I've also had on my TBR for such a long time, and I do have plans to read this one in March for the first round of Screaming Color. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. All right, so that is all of my TBR and all of my goals for the year of 2024. You'll have to let me know what are some of your goals for the year of 2024, which books are on your TBR that have been on your TBR for a long time that you're hoping to get to this year. I would also love any feedback for any of those video ideas that I had. Like, I would love your input. I would love your feedback. It would mean so much to me if you could let me know your thoughts. Also, don't forget, I have all of the information linked down below for the Trova trip if you're interested in traveling with me to Italy this year. And I will be doing an extended version of this video for my Patreon where I talk about a lot of my personal goals and even more video plans. So if you want to see that, I'll have that linked down below as well. But thank you so much for watching as always, and I'll see you very soon with another video. Bye.